just wanted to take a few minutes today, and as I have off and on in recent weeks, talking about people who help make a difference in our church over these years. And there's so many, but just thinking about people that perhaps folks didn't know. There was a lady, Virginia Lee. She came, I want to say our second Sunday, but during those early days of our church in 1982, I knocked on doors basically every day, and just wasn't really aggressively soul winning, just introducing myself, meeting people, and there were people saved along the way. But I just really, at the beginning, I just wanted to get out and meet as many people as I could. But God brought people, and so much of what God has done through the ministries at Faith Baptist Church, it's just Him that's did it, that it has done it without any of our human effort at all. But Virginia Lee heard about us, I'm not sure where, showed up at church, and Virginia was a lady who early on in her life had surrendered her life to Jewish missions, and that's what brought her to our area. And if you're familiar with our area, at the end of Main Street, there's a little retirement type neighborhood, just a small circle of apartments. And but when we started the church, many of those were Jewish families or elderly Jewish people. And I think when they built it, it was all Jewish people. I was told that during World War II, a lot of Jewish people moved out of the city and settled out here. It's hard to imagine that our valley was kind of a hot spot for rich and famous people. But that was a long time ago. But there were some sulfur spas and things like that. And but Virginia Lee, she had a heart for Jewish missions. And she taught Sunday school. She was our first Sunday school teacher besides Mrs. Goddard. And great lady, loved people. And just the other day, one of our men who's in the ministry mentioned that he trusted Christ sitting in Virginia Lee's Sunday school class. And she probably doesn't know it, but one of the young people saved in a children's class that she was teaching is now pastoring. And what a great thing to influence people. And then thinking of other people along the way, there was an old rough truck driver, Don Urkes. And Don had been a truck driver, but a very faithful member of Central Baptist Church in Pomona. And I met him, and he wanted to go soul winning with me. And I guess he'd gone soul winning quite a bit at his church in Pomona. He'd retired to our area. He and his wife lived in a big RV. And Don was the first person in our church to just go out with me knocking on doors. He was going out with me before our first Sunday, and a great pleasure. And again, he was your typical stereotype truck driver, great big guy, and loved to talk about the Lord, and he was an encouragement, and he had no problem leading someone to Christ. And if you didn't want any part of Jesus at the front door, he might give you a truck driver's response. And I thought, don't do that. We'll meet him again. It's a small town. But along the way, God brought us people that were just a blessing, just an encouragement. And no one knows the influence they have for good or for evil until the years pass down, and probably till we get to heaven. And I look back at people who've been such a help and encouragement to me, and I think I want to make sure that my life is going to be a help to people. Life's hard, life's difficult. There's pressures and burdens, and the last thing I want to do is add any more pressure or hurt or hardship on people. And I'd like to encourage you today to remember the little things, just little things you do. They do matter, and how you treat people, how you respond to people. And when I think of little things, I think of one of our most faithful couples now, and they're just the greatest servants and help in so many ways, Bill and Sandy Smith. And Bill and Sandy started coming, and one day he asked me, they were already Christians and good, faithful people, and he asked me, do you know why we're here or how we heard about it? I said, no idea. He said, you were getting gas, and I was on the pump on the opposite side getting gas, and you just reached over and gave me a tract. And he was looking after, I believe it was his mother, and so they were going to church with her, to her church, just to try and help her and keep her encouraged as the older years came. And he said, but when she passed away, I remembered that tract, and that was the church we wanted to go to. And oh, what a blessing. And just a tract, who would think just passing out a tract would make such a difference? And one more quick one, these are just people that made an impact. Just knocking on doors. And those early weeks, the first few weeks before we started the church, we had church at the Wildomar school in the morning for 6 weeks, and then at night we just were going to go to someone's home here or there, whoever would let us into their house. But they're total strangers, just opening people's homes up, for whatever, 8, 10, 15, 20 people, and for a Bible study. And that was from the very first. We had Sunday school, Sunday morning church, we had Sunday night church and Wednesday night church. And Sunday night and Wednesday night were in someone's living room or wherever. I was looking for a garage, but I think the second Sunday, third Sunday, a lady came to church. I just gone by her house, left the tract at her gate. I think she had a gate, and I couldn't get to the house, and I don't like being dog bit, so I don't go in gates. I just leave a tract at the gate. She came to church, Lucille Long. And she came to church that Sunday morning, and she was saved, good lady, just not going to church anywhere. And she said, we asked about Sunday night, because I announced something that gave her the idea that we were kind of looking for places. She said, my daughter's got a house that's empty, and she bought it as an investment. She's not living in it yet, and it was just a block from the Wildomar school we were using in the morning. And she said, I'm sure she'll let you use it. Sure enough, she did. And so that was nice, because a great big empty house. We could bring chairs in, and just the little things. And Lucille Long was such a blessing. And then later on, there was a gal who got saved, and I won't tell the story in case it matters, but she's still in our church today. But she'd gotten saved, and she was commuting a long ways. And I said, why don't you move out to our area? And encouraged her. And she said, well, I will, if you can think of a place I could live. And she didn't have a lot of money. And within a matter of days, it came up, Lucille Long opened her home and to this gal and let her live there. And I don't know if she paid rent or not, but that got her a place to stay in our community. And all these just little things. And I want to encourage you, go through life realizing it does matter what you do. And you just can't go roughshod over people. And it does matter how we treat people. And it does matter whose life we touch in some small way. And anyway, I'm so very thankful. I want to take a moment and just mention, I got several things today, but in the book of Hebrews, he says in Hebrews, not forsaking the assembling, Hebrews 10:25, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. Now, going backwards, don't you see the second coming approaching? First time in my lifetime when there's global unity over anything is, of course, COVID, and the World Health Organization kind of having a grip on every country, and these different COVID restrictions, and there's a lot of pretty serious, big global stuff going on. I want to encourage you, realize this, that we're approaching the end, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse. The government's getting worse, and humanity is getting worse, and corruption is getting worse, and I'm not discouraged about it. And look, some of you that are discouraged, shut the news off. Don't listen to so much news. Listen to good things. But he says, so much more as you see the day approaching. This is talking about getting the believers together. Don't forsake the assembly. Don't forsake church. And he said, so much the more as you see the day approaching. We should not only not forsake church, as we see the second coming drawing near, we need to be at church more, not less, more. And I know some of you, maybe you don't drive after dark. Wasn't it great? It's staying late, and you can drive to church Sunday night, Wednesday night. We have a Wednesday afternoon service at 3:30. But if you need a ride, you call and we'll get you a ride. We don't want anybody missing church. But I want you to notice, again, COVID, the government worked awful hard, the devil, whoever, worked awful hard at shutting down churches. And a lot of churches were shut down for a little while, some for a long time, some never reopened. But this whole COVID thing, that was a evil work trying to keep churches from reopening, trying to shut down churches. And this cyber church, I'm grateful that we can have what we're doing right here, and that you can get some, maybe some Bible, some encouragement online. But this isn't church. I don't care how good the message is, and I don't have any supernatural messages. I got a supernatural book, but it's not about a good message. See what he says in Hebrews 10:25. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another. You know, we're to go to church to exhort one another. Church isn't sitting at home listening to a sermon. Church is going to a place, singing, and of course Colossians talks about singing and exhorting one another in song and spiritual songs. This together, we are to exhort one another. We need each other. And Christians, if we're going to make the impact we're supposed to, we need to assemble. And getting people into church and singing hymns together, just a handshake, a smile, encouraging one another. And I know some of you, as you get older, it's harder for you to get out. And I know this, I just turned 65. As I get older, things are harder, and your energy level is not what it used to be. And I know some of you that are 80 are saying, yeah, you just wait until you find out what energy really is not like when you get older. But I'm happy with what I'm doing, love what I'm doing, but I know this, there's a lot of things you notice as you get older. So I understand maybe hard, but I want to encourage you, get to church. If you can get to the store, get to church. If you can, but just you are an encouragement. A church full of people is an encouragement. A church full of people singing is an encouragement. Just walking, shaking hands, being a friend to people is such a help. You do matter, and you can exhort one another. And I don't know, what other gifts and talents you have, but I know this: the devil doesn't want you in church because you can make an impact, and you can be a help and encouragement. And so he says there in Hebrews 10:25, going back to verse 24, let us consider one another. Think about each other. And he goes on, let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, verse 25. See, verse 24 says that we should consider one another and we should provoke one another. Now, how about that for a good word? You're provoking me. Somebody might say, well, this says we are to provoke one another to love. We are to provoke one another to good works. And that's what we're supposed to do. Encourage people. Nudge people a little bit. Challenge them to keep on and to press on. And, you matter. And all right, now what am I doing? I am provoking you. And if you come into church and just shake a few hands, you're an encouragement. If you sing in the choir, you're an encouragement. You young people. And I know some of our young couples, babies and busy, you don't have an ounce of energy left for anything. But I'll tell you what, the young people matter. I love looking up in the choir. We've got some college students home from school for summer singing in the choir. We've got some young adults in the choir. I love older people because I'm one of them. But I'll tell you what, everybody loves youth. And youth is just awesome. And you young people, what a refreshing thing. And to see the children happy in church and the teenage choir singing and to see all the Sunday schools. And kids are a blessing. Your children will provoke one another to love and to good works. Just having kids there, what an encouragement. And staying home, you're helping nobody staying home. You may get some spiritual nourishment from whatever preacher you listen to online on Sundays, and I'm not against that. If you're sick and we got people in convalescent homes, and I'm so thankful that they can, if they want to, they can digitally turn on a church service somewhere and watch it. But you know what? There's nothing like sitting in the pew with a hymnal in your hand, singing hymns, hearing God's word preached, seeing people walk around, seeing the young people, consider one another. Hey, Wednesday nights, tonight, consider one another. Consider that you can be that one to provoke others to love and to good works. Don't encourage people to stay home. Encourage people to come, and let's provoke people to do more. Let's not. Well, the last thing you need to do is say, oh, you're getting older. It's dark, late, or early, or whatever. Don't do that. Tell people, hey, come. And if you can't drive, we'll give you a ride. And we want you at church, and you matter. People matter. Sitting at home, now when you're a family, you got a lot to do at home, feeding kids and training kids and caring for the household. But as we get older, what good am I going to do just hanging around the house? I just as well be at church and be an encouragement to people. And so again, this afternoon, our Wednesday afternoon service, 3:30, we've got some refreshments, and some coffee, and usually some kind of snacks. The teens come in and sing before they go out soul winning, and it'll be a warm day soul winning if you think to pray for them. And then the Bible study, and of course we're studying the tabernacle. And last week Brett Beal gave us kind of an introduction to the outside of the tabernacle. This week, Brother Greg Beal, our school principal, he's going to be talking about the tabernacle proper, the holy place, the Holy of Holies, and each week's adding. It's going to be an enjoyable few weeks, and I hope you can join us. And I just want to encourage you. Consider one another, provoke one another to love and to good works, and don't forsake the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is. He just says there's some people just forsaking church. And he finishes it in verse 25. He says, I lost my place. And so much the more, as we see the day approaching, let's be in church. Let's gather with the people of God and sing his praise, hear his word taught, and encourage and exhort and provoke the believers to a life of faithfulness to God.